Okay, so I think we're almost there. You ready? Or do we just need to, what would be really good is a good coffee pot up here. Ed would not allow it. Coffee in the morning, a keg in the afternoon. Yeah. All right. So this, the reports of these views. So I'm going to open this data tools thing. So under databases, let's do community assist. Views there that we can use. We can also use direct from the, you can do the tables directly.
Right.
Go ahead and just set up. We're just going to do reports today. And I'm just showing the views that we did last time. I think, didn't I post these views if you don't, on the blog, so you should be able to just like copy and paste them in if you don't have. Hello. So we're going to start talking about views, I mean not views, reports. I was just showing the views that we did last time. When you do your own, it'll be with the Metro Alt. As I said, you can use the actual tables, but the views usually make the reporting easier. You could do the aggregation, you could do a lot of that stuff in the reports if you want. It's just a lot more work. Some of this I don't know how it's going to work, so we'll see. When we deploy it, I'm curious about how the website will work. You have to run the browser as administrator. And I can't find a way to do Edge that way. So I think we'll either have to go to Internet Explorer, which is available here, by the way, as a kind of a legacy tool, or we can make Chrome work to some extent. But I'll show you when we get there. I'm just rambling, kind of letting people catch up. Okay. Okay, so the tool that we actually need to make the reports is the same one we used for the SSIS. So we want the Visual Studio 2015, which in the virtual machine is only for the data tools. I'm going to right-click on it because I want to go to More and Run as Administrator. Again, you can make the reports without running as administrator, but if you want to deploy them, you have to be administrator. This is actually easier than it used to be in like Windows 7, where you had to go into the list of apps, find the app, and then right-click on it. You couldn't do it in this. So I'm going to run it as administrator. I'm going to do yes, and it should launch this shell. It would be interesting. You could deploy these to Azure, which would be fun. You'd have to have an Azure account. I noticed, just as a side bit of little news, that Microsoft, Boeing just agreed to put all of their stuff on Azure, which is a huge contract win for Microsoft. Another little piece of news related to clouds is that Amazon bought Cloud9, which was another cloud company. Some people preferred it to Amazon, which is probably why they bought it, because it has better tools. So what I'm going to do, can't read the bottom. Oh. I haven't done anything there much. Okay. And I know sometimes I stand in people's way. I can sometimes see it when you're trying to look. If I am, just tell me and I'll try to get out of the way. So I'm going to do new project. So file, new project. And then we have different project types. There's integration services, which is what we did before, but we're going to do reporting services. And we have the project wizard or the server report server project. And we'll start with the wizard. Part of why we'll start with the wizard is that you get the wizard either way. So if you start without the wizard and then you right click to create a report, it launches the wizard. So we might as well do the wizard. So I'm going to name this, what do I want to name it? Community Assist. And I'll call it reports. I'll do OK. And it should start the wizard in a second. There's the wizard. You always get the first page that tells you what the wizard is going to do. And you can always not show this page again if you don't like seeing the splash screen, basically. It doesn't bother me, so I don't worry about it. So we need a new data source. The type is for Microsoft SQL Server. I'm actually going to make it a shared data source. Now you can type the string directly in here, which I could do, but I'll show you the way you'd probably prefer to do it, to edit. Are you guys with me? All right, and you've seen this screen a billion times, right? And you'll see it a billion times more. We want localhost, and we need a database name. So I'm going to do Community Assist. We're using Windows authentication. In the afternoon, we'll talk about what the opposite means. And basically, this is all fine. You can test your connection if you want. This is always there. Yeah, you succeeded in nothing except that the database exists, which you already knew because it was in here. I mean, you can fail all sorts of ways because it doesn't tell you anything about security. It doesn't tell you anything about your permissions. I never look at the advanced. It gives you some other options. I'm just looking at this. We don't have a failover. We're not, most of these are network options, it looks like. Pooling, initialization. Anyway, you have lots of little things you can set, but I'm going to just leave them as they are. Partially because I could probably just really screw things up by changing those. You have to know why you're changing them. And I'm just going to do OK. So this is all you would have had to type. Data source equals localhost, semicolon, initial catalog equals community assist. So I'm going to do next. And we could build a query here. Let me look at, I prefer to just write the SQL. What do we want? Which one do we want to make as our first one? Yeah, total allocations by grant type sounds like a good one to start with. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm just going to say select star from VW Now, hopefully that is actually what I named it. Total allocated by grant type. Allocated, is that right? If it's wrong, it'll tell you. When I do next, Okay, so if the query was wrong, it wouldn't have let me go forward, right? If the object didn't exist. Now you can use the query builder. Have you ever? I'll show it to you real quickly. I don't like the query builder. This looks a lot like the query thing in Access, right? So when you go in, you can choose what tables you want. Right now, it's going by the SQL that I gave it. So it's showing that there's a column, grant type, name. There's a table for the total, and then basically it gives you the query down here.
How did you get to that page?
So
I did that as electrons. That's all.
it's query builder.
Just,
Yeah.
okay.
And you can build your query in there just like you can in Access. I think though that I think it's really awkward compared to this SQL. And it can give you some really bad results if you're not careful. Especially if you're trying to do multiple joins in it. You have to be real careful when you're doing the query builder for that. But if you're really uncomfortable with SQL, you could have the query builder.
So that's if you don't already have a view set up.
Well, so if you have a view, this is certainly easier. Even if you do have a view, you may not want to show everything in the view, because a view essentially behaves like a table. So you could, instead of select star, which is actually not a great idea, you could, select the actual columns that you want to see. The query builder would at least give you a list of the columns, so you know what was in there. The other option is to have this on, let's see, some kind of documentation. I know when they give the people in the offices here that are doing queries, they give them a document views that are available to them, what the columns are in those views. So I'll give them access to this. Also, if you were building directly from the tables, you could do that. But you could also just write the SQL, which, as I said, is generally more efficient for me. Anyway, I'm going to the next, and we have a choice of tabular or matrix. This one makes more sense as tabular, but just to show you, if you do matrix, matrix is where you have a X and Y column, so these are headings and these are headings. Certain kinds of data make a lot of sense that way. The data for this one doesn't. It makes more sense tabular because we just got a couple of columns. I suppose, so we're just doing by type though. This isn't by year. If the one where we're doing, I might do this afterwards, where you have the years across here and the types down the side, then that makes sense as a matrix. This one only really makes sense as a tabular. Then you have to say where these are going to go, and you're allowed to, you can do some different kinds of grouping. This is like a page level header or group. This is, well, it's a page level header. This is a group, and then these are the details. The details are what will actually appear in the grid. What we have doesn't lend itself to grouping, but you can group. Like if you wanted to do everything under a city name, you could put the city as a group, and then everything under it would relate to the city, right? All the details would relate to that city. So you can group by, if we for grouping by. In our case, it really just makes sense. This is a really simple one, and I'll do a different one in a bit to do a little more complicated. And then I'm going to do next, probably want to give this report a name. So this will become the title, although you can change that. What? Oh, yeah. think that's what it is. Anyway, so, and I'm going to click on preview the report, and then I'm going to finish. Now there are, by the way, there are some blog things. I think I linked to them. If not, I will before the day is out, that show this whole process. So this is our preview as it looks right now. There's things you can do. If I go to design, we can start making some changes to this. Let me do that again on the preview. Okay, so like we might want to change the amounts into money. That would be a simple thing to do. And so if I click on the total field here and right click, there are text box properties. Those are the properties of the actual content of the text box. Actually, we'd want the one below. This is just a heading. So I click on that and do text box properties. And one of the things you can do is number, and then you can set it up as currency, and you can, you know, you have some choices what you want to do. I'm going to use the $1,000 separator. There's really not much else I want to do with that. When I go to the preview now, they look like money.
So it saves you from formatting.
Yeah, so a lot of the formatting that you do you could do in the SQL, you could do here easier. You can do other things, like I'm going to go back into design. Grant type, it would be nice if it was a little wider. Right, so I just clicked in here and did widened this out a little bit so that it like change the color of the font, make that blue. That makes, I mean, you can format these to be as pretty as you want. If you want a line between these, I don't know that you would want to. You could also get rid of the lines in general if you want. But in here you also have, when you do text box properties, you have borders. And right now there's a border to do, you know, whatever you want, including no borders, if you think that would be better. I don't know what that is because I probably would want to do the same here. I don't know if I prefer it with no borders or not. It's not bad with no borders.
You can just do a line between.
You could do a line between if you want. For that, you would do on one of these. Yeah, I know, I just don't have it selected properly. There we go.
Text box properties.
Right, that's where you always want border. And then what we would want is a border. And then I preview when I would do things. And again, if you prefer, whatever looks good to you. Now, the other thing I want to do, I'm going to add I could, I think I can expand this. Not sure how. I want to expand, I could change the font.
I wonder how you can shade every other column.
I was wondering that actually too.
Because what you do on that
You could create an expression, I suppose.
It fills all of it.
So I wanted to show you over here.
Every other row.
Yeah.
This is keeping track of your objects again. Notice that we did
It's
a
not.
data source one. We probably should have named it. I wonder if I can rename it. And then there's the reports. All of the reports in here will share the same data source. I wonder if I can rename it by right-clicking on it. Yeah, let's name it Community Assist, RDS.
Wait. Did you save that? Is that what you did?
I'm changing the name. So under shared data sources. So you may not have, when you did the data source, the report box that says make it a shared data source. You did? So it should be there.
It's okay. I mean, and I understand what.
Yeah, I just was going to
Okay.
name it.
Yeah, it's no problem.
So I'm just going to select this text properties font. I'm just going to make it slightly smaller. And I'll make it the same color as the others. I don't know if that's good or not. All right, preview. It's okay. Might be better a different color. I'm not worried about the aesthetics of these too much, although, you know, that's sort of the point to some extent. But it's also to get the information. Notice over here, these are fields that you can add that are built in, like page number, page name, language, execution time, user ID. I mean, these are things you can add to any report. You also have from your data source, and then you have your data sets. And the data sets shows you what columns are available to you. And if you have images, if you upload images and things, you can put those in there. So you can have like a background image or other things. What else was I going to do? There's also, you can see it over here, there's a toolbox. So I'm going to do the toolbox. And there are, and I'll pin it real quickly so it'll stay there. I was trying to get a little bit of room here. All right, so you can add a text box, you can add a line, you can add a table, you can add a matrix. I mean, you can actually build your report from scratch. One of the things that I'm going to show is a chart. You can also do map and gauge. I'm going to do a chart. You can make sub-reports, so reports based on reports.
Meta report.
Meta reports, yeah. So I'm going to add in a chart. I'm going to put it right here. And then it pops up and it gives you something kind of like Excel's chart tool. As you go through and you look for different charts. Probably a pie chart would make the most sense here. Right, so the pie with the different parts. So you can do a regular pie or you can do a 3D pie. Going to do a regular pie. Okay, so one of the things you have to do if you do the chart is you need to well, I could change the title. What do I want to call? And I want chart properties. There we are. And then chart properties let you do things. Well, that just tells me filters, visibility, general. It's not really what I want. I want the actual properties.
You hit each category.
Right click it.
Chart. So we want to figure out, oh, I know why I'm not seeing it. It's there all the time, but it's off my screen. Let me Move that over. So we need to know what we are summing. So the S values, and I'm going to do a plus, and basically it's the totals that we're doing that. And I think if I go down, there's the category groups, and if I do plus grant type name, let's see what that looks like under preview. Yeah, so that's actually an accurate pie chart, and you can make it bigger.
It just doesn't show you.
Yeah. So that's not too bad of a report. I mean, people can do better. But does that make sense? Just the basic reporting possibilities here. When you have data in a database, it's actually pretty useless in the database, right? What you want from the database is to extract information from it. And typically what reports are is that information presented graphically in data, in summarized data. So reporting is actually an important function. As I said, a lot of people, this is the job they get. If you're looking for database jobs, a lot of the database jobs are more related to reporting. So we have this report. Let's save this report.
You know what would be more interesting
What?
for visual people is if you could, if you did do the hit bar, and you did it by order of amount, so people could see the like the.
Well, you could have more than one trip. So if you want
places
to.
that are really close, like
Yeah.
1366 and 1558. At least they could see incrementally.
Well, we could add a second
I
chart.
mean, you don't have to. It's just
Yeah.
in terms of a visual person.
I mean, you can add as many charts as you want, actually. So I'm
Tell
gonna.
a different story to a.
Yeah. So like this column chart.
But or bar, yeah, exactly. Basic or bar.
Bars are sideways, right?
Yeah. Just, but I wonder if you could order them by amount.
Might be able to.
It's
These are
not- it's
things you
okay.
can.
You don't have to spend our time doing it. I was just curious.
Some values are the total.
Or if it puts it in order of, I think it puts it in order of how it it's listed off the table.
Yeah. So if you ordered by
order
in
by
the
amount.
view, we could probably change that.
It's interesting you can't toggle like order it. But it just
That's
takes,
kind of small.
takes it exactly from the list. It's also weird that.
Well, you might be able to. I think we can do it here in a second.
And you notice due to space, it doesn't write all of the grant types. It only does a
Right, because we didn't have room.
space. Yeah, just interesting.
So I'm making things a little bigger.
How do you report the breakfast meal?
So you have to set the categories.
Yeah, so it's
Still don't have all of them there.
interesting how.
So I need to get all of them.
Series group.
So there's a summary group and then there's a category group. Still don't get them all. I wonder why.
It might be a function of the chart, how it's set up. It might only allow.
So it's doing opposites. I wonder if I can.
Well,
I'm sure I can change
yeah,
that.
yeah, there's gotta be a way to play with the chart settings.
Um,
Horizontal axis.
vertical axis properties.
Because it says.
I just undid the label can be offset.
I wrote hide minor tick marks, but that doesn't actually have to do.
Well, this still is offsetting them. Anyway,
Well, yeah, that's.
we could play with that. I think you can do most anything you want. It's
Yeah.
just going to take a while.
It's like making charts in
It's it's
Or
very
Word.
similar. I think they're using the same basic tools as Excel or Access. All right, there's a couple of, so having done this, I'm going to save it. And what I want to do with this is basically, now I'll widen this out. I'm going to try to deploy it, and we're going to go see if we can find it. And then we'll do one more, and then I'll get it to your assignment where you can play with these. And part of the point of this is to play with it, just to play and see what you can do. I'm not going to be too critical of your aesthetics. So having saved this, we need to deploy these if you want to show them. I might also show, if I can, that I can't do until I think about it though. You can use this, remember how I showed you some reports in SQL Server itself? These can be used for those kinds of reports as well as for the other. So first I'm going to do the shared data source. Now if your source isn't shared, you don't have to do this because it would be deployed with the report. But I need to deploy this first. So I right-clicked on it and I deploy. And hopefully it will go. Not responding. That's not good. Let's see if it goes eventually. If not, I'll kill it and try it again. What it does when it deploys is it deploys to IIS and a place called the Reports server. It also writes the little pieces of this to the reporting database. Okay, so now it's gone. Interesting error. Is an earlier version than the one specified in the target version property. Doesn't tell me which version. All right, so let's look at I think it's here, properties. Target version, SQL Server 2016 or later. Do we have 2015? So let's do SQL Server 2008. And where I got this. So let's cancel and do it again. I went up to the project, not the solution, but the project. Right-clicked and did properties. And it gives you where it's going to go. It says SQL Server 2016 or later. I'm going to change it to 2014. I don't think there's anything else I need to change there. I'm going to do OK. Let's try deploying it again. Now it says it succeeded. And then I'm going to take the report itself and deploy it. Oh, that's interesting.
Chart one.
I wonder if I can set the version type of this. I'm just looking to see if I can change the
I got it to run, but when I'm loading my browser, I get a permission denied.
yeah, that's not uncommon. So how did you get it to run?
I double clicked on the arrow to bring up the project properties.
Okay. On the actual,
Should have worked.
let's rebuild. Well, so,
Okay, go to the project properties directly.
right, so project properties.
And you've already changed your target server version.
Right. Did you change anything else?
I cleaned my solution.
All right. Where do you do that?
Under the build menu, there's a clean solution option.
Okay.
And then you can rebuild it.
So what does that do?
It gets rid of old stuff from the last build, including potentially outdated configs.
Wow. You're giving them kind of your paycheck, aren't you?
Could not find.
Okay, that one I didn't get. I have no idea what that is.
Oh, I know. Did you not change your? I changed the name of this.
Oh, okay.
It's not giving me many properties. I was thinking that, let's go over here.
Mine's
I
for,
click fill under the
mine's for blank. Mine's for blank.
among the report.
Yeah, it still says data source.
Mine says it can't find schema information for various elements.
Huh.
And mine were deployed fine.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to change this back to.
I think at least.
I mean, you have to click fill before you.
I'm going to change it back to data source 1, which is a problem. Data source 1. So and then I'm going to deploy it. And then I'm going to deploy. And it did work this time.
And then where do you find it on?
So let that be a lesson to you. You can't rename this.
Reports.
So the way to look at these, I mean, we could do some searches of the report server to see where it is. But what we really want to do is, so I'm going to go to all apps. We could do this with Chrome. Let's see if it'll work with Chrome. We need to run it as administrator. I don't know if Edge will work weirdly. It did, okay. So I'm going to run Chrome as administrator. I'm going to try to go to the reporting software here. So it should be, although you don't probably need HTTP, localhost, and ideally reports. So is it going? It takes it a while the first time because it has to build the site. And it seems to have worked. How many you got there? You did. Did you run as administrator?
Yes.
And is that in Chrome?
Yeah.
Do
Mine is just stalling out trying to load the page.
you can take
Oh, there we go.
There you go. Why would mine work? So probably I will come around and look under data sources here. I have data source one. What? You ran now?
Give me a brief report. Now it's still giving me a version of 9. Yeah, I'm still good for part.
I can't open it.
All right, let's take a look. And you did deploy them, right?
Yes, but
Successfully?
I deployed, I had to fix something, and now it's telling me I can't fix it.
What were you trying to do?
It says, change this target server version. I just look in the bill.
No,
All right, so what is your server? You deployed it before?
Yeah, I'm actually good at it.
Go up above. Actually, the project. Right there. Right there.
Yeah, you have something.
Change this to 2014. Well, did it use about
Oh, you also have, how'd you get that?
20, you'll be okay. Then try to deploy. That should deploy. That's why I deployed it.
All I did is put name
This one was
Right, because we didn't.
just show us how to get in.
Yeah, but I didn't.
Right. Build it. Yeah, but in the backfield. We're supposed to.
Yes.
So. When it's unfrozen, just right click on that. You might have to. All right, so the versions that we downloaded the most current data tools, but we don't have the most current SQL Server. So we did have to change the properties. This is my report on the web, in the web browser.
The reporting services there. Permissions granted to the user, the insufficient response necessary.
You have to run your browser as administrator.
Oh, now you, yeah, like,
We're running as administrator.
Great.
It's weird that some work and some don't.
After that, save.
All right, so hopefully that's the process.
It's a fail.
I found I've deployed project and the actual report file. And then
So
I
in
just
Chrome, the way I got Chrome to run as admin is I went to, I don't know that you can just right click
Yeah.
on
Like,
Chrome and do that. So what I did is I went to File Explorer, or actually just the Windows key, all programs. And then if you go to Chrome and right click on it, you can do more and you can run as administrator. I'm curious, so there's yeah, that's what I wasn't sure of, if you could do it from the Chrome shortcut. So if you can, that's fine. Can I see what, the reason I wasn't unsure, Microsoft Edge doesn't have that as an option. I'm curious if it does. Actually, Edge isn't even in the list of programs. All right, so a lot of you have errors on the thing is you can actually edit the report here. So I'm hoping I can get you all there eventually. You got there. Yeah, you can try Internet Explorer. Chrome doesn't do it. But why-
Firefox does not like it at all. Chrome worked okay.
You're in. And you're in. That's fine. And so the link is just HTTPS or HTTP. Localhost. Localhost. And it takes a minute. It takes a minute. So you have it. And you're running it in.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, you can try Internet IE. So you're finally updated, and you're updating.
Hey, Stu,
Yeah.
when after the update, it like, I don't want to do. Scroll up and down to
If you maximize, you should be able to put some of that. So you're totally inside now. You're not. I'm not sure why it's not showing the. I mean, you could probably readjust your size preferences. You know, like
size broadcast.
it looks fine.
Usually this doesn't look new auto size and So when you're stretching the process, when you're in the design part, does it snap?
It actually doesn't snap.
So it is referential.
Yeah.
size.
It might be an option that you could put a grid on it, but I don't think that's a default option. Later, we're going to do one more report.
As it's deployed right there,
Yeah.
if you went and made a change, if you altered your view, would you have to redeploy it to?
You'd have to redeploy it, or though you can. Let's go back. I'm going to go back to home. And notice that there's a report builder here. And as I said, that's something we're going to do probably next class. But you can actually build your reports right here in this interface, and you can edit reports. So you don't necessarily have to go back and redeploy. Although if you want to use those tools, you do.
So in that way, it can kind of be an interactive report. Like
Yeah.
You could start it and
Somebody else could come in here and add things to it and finish it. It is also possible, although we're not going to go there because it's a little more complicated, to make reports that are live. That are interactive. Like you can do a report where you can adjust the pivot, live in here. Basically, it's like you have an Excel spreadsheet online.
So how does it connect to the database?
Well, it still always will have to have the same data source, right? So we have community assist reports, which I'm going to add another report to. And then, and you can have multiple folders, right? And you could create a new folder and you could create a report in that folder. If you look at the data sources, you could create a new data source here. You can, literally, this is a pretty interactive environment. I am not entirely sure. So I should look this up. A lot of the content is stored in the reporting databases that are in SQL Server. This environment, this local host environment is IIS, but this works even if you haven't installed IIS. So I'm not sure what's going on. It must be like an IIS Express. This is not, currently this isn't global, right? It's just local to your machine. You could deploy it to a place that is in the properties. You have a choice of where to deploy it, and you can deploy it to a folder that is publicly available, obviously. Otherwise, what's the point? The other thing that you can do is you can deploy this to SharePoint. We didn't install the SharePoint tools because we don't have SharePoint, but you can deploy these into a SharePoint instance too. So I'm at the home folder in the thing. So you got community assist reports. Your data source, so you don't have a separate data source because you deployed it with the report, which is okay.
Yeah.
It's just that every report will have its own data source then. Yeah, if you look, there's I have community assist, which I renamed it and deployed it originally, but the report wanted data source 1. Now, they both have the same content. If we click on these, it'll say that the name is data source 1. SQL Server gives the connection string, and then you can look at you have credentials supplied by user running the report. So it's possible that people could have to log in to see the report. We're using Windows connections, credentials stored securely in the report server. That's not necessarily true. Use Windows when connecting to the data source. It's interesting. All that is true, but it's not really. Well, Windows integrated security is what's connected. So you can set up the data source here, and you can delete it, and you can move it. Not sure what generate model does, but Anyway, it's kind of interesting. Let's do one more report and then we'll look at the assignment. There's two parts to this assignment. As I said, the second part is based on this report builder online, but the first part is using the tools. And that's the part I want to focus on today. So just let's do one more report and deploy it and then look at this again. I'm not going to kill this, although I could. So are you guys ready for another report? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click on reports and say add new report. And notice it launches the wizard. So we can use, if you did the shared data source, you can do shared data source. Otherwise, you're going to need to do a new data source. Yeah.
So when we first started, is this the part that we don't rename the data source?
Yeah, now you could, if when you do a new,
Mhm.
you have a choice to name it. This is where I would do it, is when you first do it. Like if I wanted a new data source, then I could rename it.
Okay, so earlier when we created it, we probably had shared data source.
I did, yeah. So down here, there's a make this a shared data source, which it already is.
Okay, so if we rename it in shared data source, then we need to click that checkbox.
Yeah, you need to click that checkbox and you need to rename it here.
Okay.
When I renamed it over there, it didn't object, but then the report wouldn't let me rename it in the report. So
To make this. a
if
shared-
you want the experience of uploading a shared data source. So because it's already there, I don't have to do it again. I'm going to do this in the query. Let me see which query I want. Let's do total donations by year, month. Or do we want total grants by year, month? Let's do total grants by year, month. So again, I'm just going to do select
I see.
yeah,
Mine said unable to
says what?
I say unable to connect blanks.
Well, so you might have to make a new data source.
Total grants by year month?
Total donations.
Which one?
I was going to do the grants one.
Okay.
So which one was it?
Total grants by year month?
That's,
By year, month, yeah.
there's
I just think I paste.
And again, you could be a little more selective, and we could order by, and actually I meant to show you in the report, I'm pretty sure there's a place where you can come in and adjust this to order by. So let's do next. Let's do this as a matrix. And I think what I will do is the year on the side and the month across the top. Does that make sense? So when we go to next, so we want columns will be month, I think.
You can just even drag and drop it.
Yeah, you can drag it. I don't want total there. For rows, I want year, and details will be total. If I got that right, the months will be across the top, the year will be along the side, and the totals will be in between.
can I ask, what was your script again?
Oh, so it was just select star from VW underscore grant types by year, month,
Oh, I got month and month name.
whatever you
I think
named
we
it.
changed month from 01/2/05 to month name.
We might have at some point, yeah.
I'm not-
I don't know if mine may not reflect yours exactly. There might be another version in here too, and I might get the month name here. I
Mine
think,
only gave me 4 months when I went through the entire wizard.
what?
Mine only gave me 4 months.
Well, there aren't very many months in the data. And you can name this whatever.
Grants.
So I said this will become the title. We can preview if you want. If you don't preview, you just click on the preview tab once you get there. I'm going to finish. And it did do kind of what I wanted. I think I might adjust the alignment of these. And it's okay. It's just that our data is so bad that it doesn't have very much data in there.
Should try changing the order. Can we go edit the?
Well, we'll try in a second. First, I think what I'm going to do is let's go here. I want the month to be right aligned with the money. I will change this to
This is the matrix.
into what?
Matrix.
It's matrix, yes.
I can't finish.
So,
You have to have something in the detail. I want text box properties, number, currency. We could do some other things too. So let's see, we want to put these in different August, February. I don't know if we can order the months. I wonder if we can. Let's go to report data, data sets, database set properties. I'm going to just right click there and say order by month. Yeah, so on the data set, I right clicked and did the data set properties, and it lets me do that. Let's see what happens when I do that. Still didn't work. You know what? They are ordered by month. You know why? They're alphabetical. I'm not sure how you get around that.
Mine, has 2, 8, 9, 10 instead of the month names.
It has, oh, right. If you don't do, in my thing, I did the date by name. So in a way, it's a bit of a problem. I wonder if you can, I don't know how you change the sequence there because they are ordered by month alphabetically.
You can get into the code, maybe.
Well, I did the code, but I'm not sure how in SQL, how you would organize these differently.
Can you show them how to go back and change the row in the wizard and edit which is column, which is row?
Oh, so I did month. I don't know if I can go back to the wizard. There is down here, there's the row groups, there's matrix year, and the column groups is month. Where's yours in the wrong?
No, I just want to change them and see if the report looks nice.
Oh yeah, you should be able to reverse them there.
Really? Chapter parent.
Did it allow you to shift them?
I'm still kind of exciting now.
One of the things I think you can do, it's actually not giving it to me then. It's not letting you change it. So you have to delete them and recreate them.
Mm-hmm.
But you can add a group.
It's asking like child group, parent group. I'm not sure.
I think if you delete this,
First,
yeah, then it would.
let me see. Three groups related row and columns, yes.
So then I think you have to go to your toolbox. Not the SSI toolbox, this toolbox. Okay. And then I think that there's a, well, maybe it's not there. So maybe look at the report data. It's gotta be a way to add groups. Let me look over here.
And for me, I have years for my rows, I have columns.
Like make anything wrong.
I know there's a way to add groups. I know there is.
Oh, yeah. I made both, the parent and just deleted the child.
Oh, I just deleted it before doing that.
And I think that's.
So you add group,
Add group,
parent.
parent.
Alright. Here. Okay, but now I need to add a group here, which doesn't work.
So I think you could do the same thing up here. Though, right? Well, I don't know.
I deleted it already.
There's got to be though a way to add a group.
Yeah. Is there any way you can get back to that original wizard?
Sure. I mean, basically what you. I don't know if there's a way to get back to the original wizard. Let's look over here. If I do right click here.
Can add a insert column.
I'm just looking. I'm sure you can do.
I did insert column outside group.
Add page footer, report properties, references variables. Oh, I know what I was going to do actually, so, but we'll do this in a moment.
Oh, I think I know how to do it here.
Anything's doable here, it's just a matter, and we could add a chart to this.
Okay, let me see this. Yeah, okay, I changed it. And now it's only showing one month, not all the months. Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, I was able to change that. Now it's only showing 1 month.
All right, so the values will be total. I'm just going to do it by year. I'm just adding a chart, which I probably, so that didn't work.
Oh, that's not what I just want.
Yeah, that's what I did.
That's so interesting.
So I'm just playing with this, which is what I would have you guys do. All right. I hate working in this design mode because it's too cramped. So I'm going to deploy this one, even though it's not I mean, we could do tons of stuff. You can change the fonts. I have basically a little chart. You can change the fonts. You can change everything about it. I'm just going to deploy it again, and we'll look at it to see if it's in there. And then I want to show you how to use a stored procedure because we used views. I want to do a stored procedure, which will have a parameter. So when you run it, you'll have to provide a parameter. So let's do, I'm just going to deploy it. I might build it first. I shouldn't have to deploy my source again. But if you made a new one, and you made it shared, you'll have to send it. So it says it succeeded. If I refresh here, in the community assist, oops, that's the data source. I didn't want a new folder, cancel. I just want to go home to this is home, community assist folder. I just want to see the reports in it. I don't want to see the properties. Oh, that's still I'm in the data sources. Where is home? Oh, there it is. Community assist reports. And now I have 2 total grants by month and year. So it's there also.
Yes, so, did you do a table?
Oh, what?
Uh,
I just deployed it. That's all I've done.
You didn't do that.
Oh, I did a chart, yeah. Right now, I mean, what I want you to do for the assignment is work on the reports, make some charts, make them as pretty as you can, as I said, and play with them. If we don't have time to do much today, I'll give you some time next time. My brain is gone. The next time we'll also show you how to do a couple of reports with in here. So I'm going to go back to home here. All right, so I want to do one more report.
And values, was it?
So I did
The 2 variables.
so for the chart data, I did
Values
total,
is total.
and I just did a year for the other one.
You do both. Oh, no, you can't, because then you can't chart.
Yeah, I mean, it would be harder to chart.
So total.
You could just do month if you want, or you can do total. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Notice it does do some aggregation for you.
Well, I changed my rows and columns
Oh.
because the total grants by month year.
It's I will look into some way to see if there's a way to reorder those, but it's not super important for this.
Oh, can I ask you anything?
Sure.
Because I hadn't done the shared data source before. Do you go to the data source?
You do need to deploy the data source first,
and then
you can deploy the report. If you deploy the report without deploying the data source, if it's shared, it'll complain.
Doesn't. And then after that is open it in Chrome.
Yeah, so it's in Chrome or Internet Explorer. As I said, I didn't see any way to get Microsoft Edge to run as administrator. I'm going to do one more report just because I want to show you what if you were using a stored procedure, and then we'll let it be good for this morning, and you guys can play with them. So I'm just going to add new report. The real trick here is I'm using the same data source, but I want to see under stored procedures. So programmability, stored procedures, and I have request allocations by grant type, and it has a parameter of grant type name. So I'm going to try to make a report based on the stored procedure as opposed to the views. Let's see if this works. Do you guys have that one or something like it? So if I were to run this, I'm going to run it in here just to show what it looks like. I'm just going to say exec, and I'm going to give it food. All right, so it should show all the grant types by food, and when I execute it, it gives me the totals for the requested amount, the allocated amount, and the difference.
Okay, start procedure. How weird. Send me can't find it.
You don't have it?
It shows here.
Are you in the right database?
What do you think? I was thinking. Right.
All right, so I'm going to use the same shared data source. For the query builder, I am going to do exec USP, and I might need DBO there, I'm not sure. And then the name of it, whatever that name was. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to
Can you share data source? New data source.
yeah, I'm just using the shared data source. Now it needs a, let's see what happens here. I think this is the part I'm not sure if I remember, and it may fail here. Add grant type. So it accepted just with the parameter, empty parameter. I don't know if that's going to work. I might have to look this up. Tabular for sure.
Yes, Steve.
Yeah.
On the grant type, what did you put? Grant type.
Oh, what is the parameter? At grant type name, what is the actual parameter?
That's okay now.
Now, I don't know if it's going to allow me to just then replace that.
Well, mine doesn't come up with
Oh,
It may just give me nothing. I'm actually going to just take all of them for details. See if it'll ask me for a parameter. Custom parameter layout was removed from the report. SQL Server 2014 does and earlier did not allow support customer parameter layout.
so you can't do a stored procedure.
Yeah, so don't do the start procedures.
Lamo.
That's weird. So I have 2016 at home.
You say you were using 2008 for this?
2008 through 14. We have 14. But I swear that there's a way. Report data, parameters. Add a report parameter 1. I'm going to grant type parameter.
Me? It should be kind of name.
What?
Should be kind of name. It is not.
I'm going to specify a value of food. I don't know if I have to put quotes around it.
No, we can find it from the version, so.
Why is it giving me two prompts? Let's do. It worked.
Education.
Right, now if I do nothing, then I'll get, no, it actually, the food is just a sample there. So education, if I do food over here, I will get the food and I'll get the amounts for that. This is what I was, so you can do it. What it doesn't do is it doesn't automatically generate the parameter. What are some of the others?
Grant type name.
So housing isn't one. Rent is though.
I didn't get the error that you got.
You didn't, and it worked.
It just worked the first time.
Why did you get that?
Steve, how would you specify this in the actual recording thing when you kind of load up in Chrome?
So I think if we do it, it'll have the grant type name, enter grant type. I think it'll have that there. Let me try to deploy it and we'll look at it in Chrome.
And if there's a way you could restrict it, so it's instead of a text box, it's like a drop down, enumerated with all the possible.
I'm sure there are ways to do that.
Rather acceptable values.
I will look at that. I'm sure that there is a way to do it. I don't know right off the top.
Grant type names. I just searched for childcare and nothing came up.
Childcare might be, let's try, that's the wrong report. So let's try childcare. I had trouble with childcare. Remember that was our error one? I did get it though.
Childcare food, but you have two different types.
This is just a suggestion. It has no effect. I wonder if in this one, if in the suggestion, if you made a list.
It's spelled childcare is one word.
Well,
What's interesting is that really?
I'm curious about. So let's go back to the parameter thing. So I'm going to go back to the. Not there. Report data. And we've got the parameters. Parameter properties. I think this is the one where I'll tell you was food.
Yeah.
So we're back to, so I'm going to do food.
If you choose get values from a query, can you then?
Yes, you could. That actually might be better. So let's.
Yeah, that's actually better. Data set one.
Data set one. Grant type name. Okay, so let's look at that in a preview.
Did you hit grant type name?
Yes.
Okay.
So custom parameter layout was removed. It isn't doing it. Why was it removed? Did yours work?
I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I was able to query childcare.
Yeah, well, childcare will work.
Which one are you looking for?
I'm just looking for,
All of them?
yeah, But it isn't letting me do the drop-down list, which is what I was trying to. It would be nice to have all as an option. But in the past, I know you could do it, if you put them all in a list like that, they would do as a drop-down box. Of course, I may not have saved it. Well, let's see, parameter properties, default values, grant type name, okay. Possible performance impact. If I do specify values, so I'm just going to do a couple of them
And see
if that shows up.
it's a grant. Drop down.
And just, okay, so it doesn't allow.
Right.
If I go there, that should work, but it's not working. So, but it does. The parameters do work, but you have to in the report data. You have to specify a parameter, right? So you have to create a parameter.
Oh, here, multiple values.
Custom parameter layout was removed from the report. SQL Server 2014 reporting services and earlier did not support custom parameter layout. I do not know why that is the case, but it still works with a parameter.
We can do it now.
So anyway, let's, and then I'm going to click View Report, and it works okay. I'm going to do one tiny little thing. I'm just going to change the field types to, so the request amount, if I can get that selected properly, I just want to make them into currency. You might notice that little tiny little list there. That's a field list if you want to change the field. Okay. So it is taking the difference I would want to have as money too, if I'm doing
What's the
that.
difference between available values and default values?
I think available, I don't know.
When you try to set up, because I went to general and I made allow multiple values, and I think that allowed the drop down.
Oh, that might be.
Yeah, but then, so I've been trying to play around, should I do that, or specific values?
Let me try to fix that real quick and see.
Because one of the messages said, it's not allowed.
Right, I think it's not allowed in this. I think it's allowed in 2016.
Multiple values, then I went in and I changed that. So then the next time I previewed, there was a drop down, but something is still off.
All right, so if I go to report
Like it won't
data,
let me type in.
so if I do allow multiple values,
Then there's some other weird thing to change.
it still says it was taken out. It showed up for a second and then it took it away.
Oh, really?
Yep. With the thing that it was removed because it isn't supported by
I
2014.
see, okay.
So I'm gonna,
Okay.
so this is grants by type. I'm going to deploy it. And then we'll look at it in the thing, and then we'll call this good for this part, and you can work for a little while. So I'm going to go back
Did you delete
here.
the parameters then?
I didn't, but I don't think they'll be passed. So I'm going to refresh here. So I'm going to open up this, and I do have grants by type. And when I open it, notice it has the parameter thing here. It has a drop-down list there. Does it actually give me the drop-down list? No. So I'm going to give me the amounts for rent. And if I do education, the thing is you have to know what it is. So I'm going to do view report. And it'll do education. It's interesting, that still says rent over there. And it doesn't do the drop down. Now, do I have two of them here? No. Now I have a drop down, but it only has rent in it. Interesting. I swear I had that drop down before in an earlier version, though.
When you went to, when we first set it up, I'm restarting the parameters because it's
Yeah.
and it wouldn't let me put it. Under general, I know you renamed this, which I'm not. Did you do anything here?
Well, I tried the multiple values.
That was after that.
Yeah.
But then here, when you did available values, did you specify? Or did you none here?
What I did is I specified a default.
And did you have label and value? Not recall you had two fields there.
You know, I don't remember if I did either, though. That might be why I had this and this. Just a second. Yeah.
Two questions. One, I missed one option. Two, how can I make my toolbox start?
So you have to.
With my Server Explorer starting.
The toolbox, it's room to go to design.
Yes. Yeah, so what's the option box?
Well, I don't necessarily want that extra box. I think it was because I was trying to do multiple.
No, I want to know how to get it.
Well, I don't think you want the other option box
I-
because it doesn't do anything.
Do nothing, just look at it.
It was because in the parameters, I was trying to do multiples. I mean, I don't think it's fairly all that useful.
Still something like
I don't know.
So where was it? I think it was when it's because I'm in, it's not really two options. One of them's dead. It means nothing.
Okay.
So I think I did a default value thing, and I said to specify a value, and then I added a value, and I said, I think I said rent or food. There's something, I don't even know how I got. The name and the prompt ended up as two different things.
Import data, how to get import data out. How to import data.
You have to put in a parameter.
Okay.
So go into preview. And then you have to put in something like ranks.
The report data. And you have,
Well, I deployed it to the web.
I don't know, this one works.
Right, so what you want to do,
Primary.
oh, the report data is just a toolbar.
In the toolbox,
Yeah,
in my toolbox, I know.
anytime the toolbar is going, you can go to view. So not toolbar.
And it's report data.
Let's go to view. Maybe report. So maybe it's different one. Here. I have no idea what you did with that. Oh, right, report data.
Oh, okay.
And again, it's floating. So, yeah, so we've got primary. So you don't have it over, I think you do.
And also
That's an
my,
interesting chart.
that is an interesting chart. So my last two reports wouldn't deploy, I'm not sure why. They built okay.
So what is the, there's an error though down, that's on error. Go back.
Let's share the source.
You need to deploy the data source first. Now deploy the reports.
So, Steve,
Yeah.
I saw you got only one.
Yeah, I don't know what I did there. Honestly, I have no idea. But it doesn't really matter because it's not something you want to do. It doesn't work.
I know you get twitchy about having things go back into
Okay.
Oh, no problem. How is your thing?
Good.
Good.
AI is challenging.
Yeah, I was looking at the things to develop AI that you need. Just the math basis is differential calculus, linear algebra, and statistics.
The thing that your people need to know. Hi all, if you hadn't realized, I went to an artificial intelligence conference in San Francisco, and it's kind of weird because Google at their last big conference announced a whole bunch of cool technologies. But at this artificial intelligence conference, the real leaders are Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft. There's one other, can't remember the other, but off the top of my head. But what separates these companies apart is, particularly the leaders, which are Amazon and Facebook, is that they have access. These are advertising-based services, and they have access to a tremendous amount of information about you. And when someone talks about artificial intelligence or natural language processing or natural language understanding, think the Amazon Echo, for instance. They're actually running scripts on the back end out there in the cloud. So in order for AI to work, you have to have very fast internet connection, so that if you're doing it on Thursday and Friday night, when Netflix, it tanks, okay? Because it needs to have lots and lots of connectivity. So the next wave of this, the way that you skinny it down and make it work better in this Netflix-filled environment, so it works every single day of the week, 24 hours a day, is to use what's called chat as your foundation. So you build a bot running inside a chat environment. And so what these are keyword responses. So they scan your identity on Facebook, or they scan your uses out there at Amazon, the purchases that you've made, the movies or the music you've selected, and then run a keyword link through a chat environment to make that work. And so as you build applications, again, it's a database backend process. It looks like somebody's smart there, but is really just responding with some canned responses. There are some very good companies that are building the bulk of these bots. And if you're interested, you can send me an email or whatever, and I'll send you the names of these two companies. So understand that in order for this to work, we need way more bandwidth, and down to the client. Most of you don't use desktop computers at home. Most of you, if you're under the age of 35, your primary device is probably a notebook, probably a cell phone first, a tablet second, and then maybe a notebook. It's kind of the way it's breaking out right now. So what that means is a cell phone makes its connection to the internet primarily via 4G. You all, I think you're in IT, so you probably understand that we have a new standard for cellular connection, which is called 5G, which is in essence 4 times faster than our current bandwidth to the client, which means that AI won't be bottlenecked on cell phones. Tablets and notebooks typically use Wi-Fi. These have a challenge because there's quite often a series of security protocols between you and your internet connection. You know, you can go to a place where they're thinner, but you may have noticed that if you're in one of my classes, I say, thou shalt never use a public Wi-Fi ever under any circumstances. There's no way to make it clean. There's nothing you can do to save yourself, right? I think most of us would say that at certain times in our lives we've used public Wi-Fis, but they're not terribly safe. The thing is that the ones that are not the safest will be the very fastest, okay? So what's weird is that you'll use a Wi-Fi, a public Wi-Fi, for instance, be kind of slow. That's actually an indication of maybe a more secure connection than one that's extremely fast, okay? Because it doesn't matter how fast the routers and the switches and all that stuff is. It's the security barriers that you have to negotiate. If you imagine, you know, trying to go into a concert or something, you have to go through these various channels. Or like the airport, you know, the longer lines, everybody's trying to cram in. So you can imagine what's happening with your packets because they're looking at each one. So we're changing the infrastructure around with a cloud deployment. It's called software-defined WANs to sort of make this next wave of stuff that will be delivered. It will be delivered in the next 18 to 24 months. So you will have the first self-driving cars from Apple, from Google first, probably. And the reason why people go, well, why is Google doing self-driving cars? Well, think about it. You can get a massive battery inside an electric car. Your cell phone, if you're pushing packets and trying to use artificial intelligence, is going to burn up that battery on the cell phone pretty fast. Notebooks, a little bit bigger batteries, but again, you've got the similar problem. The only place where you're literally going to have control over your internet connectivity at high speed is that, okay? So that's the transition and the technology that's arriving. And you can think about it and bundle it into your databases and your web processes as you build your classes and your internet structures. So that's kind of the quick 101 of the conference. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you. You need to as.
Oh, right here.
No, between the view and.
I wrote all of these in SQL. I don't know why. It's weird.
Okay, yeah.
And then there's another one I have here that's create. Oh, it's because it's already created.
Yeah, it's saying it already exists.
I just need to catch up with that. You said to run this as that.
Right. So have you, So before we do that, let's have you deploy them,
I right-click deploy.
and is it okay?
One, there's something with the name, I'm not really sure. This seems like it's frozen.
Is it frozen now? So if it's deployed, it should be on. Let's give it a moment to unfreeze if the fuck. So this one should be just reports.
It's right on the original, I just
It keeps going back to the report pages. Actually, that's fine. It's just that there's nothing to close yet. So you're at the right place. If this, when this comes up, just do a right click and deploy again. I'm not sure why. Although if you deployed, did you get here before you deployed? You might have to change the version. That's the thing. But
what?
The version. We have version 2016 of the data tools, but we have 2012 for the database. So one of the things that I had to do is go into the properties and change the version. When it lets you get there, yeah, of the Visual Studio.
I'm curious about that. It's saying, this is the very first thing I did.
Right.
Look at the header, I'm saying, unknown object type, used in the create drop filters.
Oh, you have to say view.
It didn't. Oh gosh, that's what I forgot to say. View VW. But you know what I had done? I had to create view underscore, and I thought, wait, that's wrong. So then I got rid of view altogether. Right? I just wanted all of them here. Thank you.
So just real quick on the assignments. I don't know how much you'll get done on this today, but it's basically to create reports based on the views, again, for Metro Alt. You can't turn in the link because I won't have access to it, so you basically need screenshots of your reports. The one thing I just added is there's a blog link to an earlier version that goes through and does kind of all the steps that we did in class. There will be a video. Actually, I should kill the video because it's still running, but there is a video. So there's a blog link, and I will post the video. But that's basically what I want you to do, and I want you to play with it. Just have fun if possible. Do deploy them if you can. You should be able to deploy them. And just make these reports. As I said, this is a skill that a lot of people get jobs at. Part of the trick beyond knowing the software for doing this is figuring out what makes a good report, what makes a decent chart, what actually shows you what the data means. There's a lot of that kind of stuff that goes into it. So I will close that. I'm going to go out of here and stop the video. Hopefully it's still running. Looks like it's doing good.